Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, Seattle Pride cut ties with Amazon. Starbucks workers unionized in the company's backyard, and the allure of the cherry blossoms has returned. The co-hosts of Battle Tactics for Your Sexist Workplace, Eula Scott Bynoe and Jeannie Yandel, are here to break it all down. But first, let's get you caught up. King County Metro is closing down the northbound bus stop at 3rd and Pine until further notice. Starting April 2nd, if you catch the 15, the 125, or Rapid Rides C, D, or E line, you'll have to do that 1 block south at 3rd and Pike. Metro says the move is being done in partnership with the city's public safety efforts. Mayor Harrell has called the situation at 3rd and Pine unacceptable and has increased SPD's presence on the block. Meanwhile, pot shop owners want the state to step in over the recent run of armed robberies at stores. A letter yesterday from the Craft Cannabis Coalition asked the state's elected officials and community members to address their concerns. The group estimates there have been at least 75 armed robberies since the beginning of the year, including one last weekend where an employee was killed at a shop in Tacoma. Like we talked about yesterday, the main issue for stores is the amount of cash on hand because of federal banking restrictions. State legislators failed to pass a bill to increase the penalty for robbing cannabis stores this past session. And just as thousands of people are about to head to Mount Vernon to see the annual Tulips Festival, a group of farm workers there are going on strike. King 5 reports that about 70 workers at the Washington Bulb Company are striking over pay and health and safety protocols. And they're hoping the popular festival will draw attention to their issue. The company's owners say they have a long history of positive working relationships with workers. He called the strike upsetting and said the festival is on. Here we are at the end of another week in the Emerald City. The sun came out a few times and the temperature even hit 60 on Tuesday. Eula Scott Bynoe is here. She's the co-host of Battle Tactics for Your Sexist Workplace. And Jeannie Yandel's here too. She's also the co-host of Battle Tactics for Your Sexist Workplace. Power podcast host here. Great to see you two. Thank you.
You too. You too. Oh, it's good to see your face, Trish.
Yes. What a week for Amazon money, you two. Mackenzie Scott dropped $4 billion philanthropic dollars, and Seattle Pride said no thanks to $100,000. Pride, which is, of course, in person for the first time in 2 years, ditched Amazon as a sponsor this week. Seattle Times reports the company offered big money, but the check came with bigger demands, including that the event be branded Seattle Pride Parade, presented by Amazon. Jeannie, not all that surprising, really. This is what big companies do. They try to get their names on stuff, and sometimes you end up with Climate Pledge Arena, and sometimes you end up with a hard pass.
Does Amazon need ads? Are we all dependent on it? Isn't it just like toilet paper at this point, where it's like, I have to wipe my butt, I have to get toilet paper, I have to exist in the society, I need a package delivered? What?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. It's not like people aren't aware of what Amazon is. You would see at a Pride Parade, be like, "What's Amazon? Let me go see that." Yeah,
I'm glad they got branding for this because I had no idea what that company was.
Right? I know. I
saw it and I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
It's like, yeah, I was like, "This is an opportunity for travel."
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, can I win a trip to the Amazon here? That's very exciting. I mean, my big question was, Amazon has given them money in the past. So I know that part of the argument that was made was, we're parting ways because we don't appreciate the fact that, like, Amazon Smile allows people to donate to anti-LGBTQ causes, and that, there are lawmakers that get support from Amazon that are, like, explicitly anti-gay rights. But that was true last year and in previous years when Amazon was giving them less money with less strings too.
A lot less money.
So
it was secret money.
Yeah, secret money.
And secret money. Secret money is very different than, like, put your name on it money.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think the minus is, like, clearly they're going to have some shortcomings, I imagine, with how they budget. But, I mean, it used to be a rebellious parade that, took over the city and was meant to disrupt. So I don't think there's any harm really with them having less budget. I mean, I remember when it was always on Broadway.
Yeah.
And my mom worked for public health in the HIV and AIDS department. So she was like regularly there every year handing out condoms. And sometimes I could join if I'd like. And so I think it's weird that it's downtown anyways. And like a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having Amazon sponsor it overall like that would kind of ruin the spirit of the event of Pride, which really has zero to do with corporate, with corporations. And of course, like you said, Jeannie, they have given money in the past, less than $50,000 though, since 2009. So this was a big increase. And it does make me wonder a little bit about what they were thinking over there at Amazon and whether or not there's a lesson in it for them ultimately about how this went down, because they didn't just say, we don't want the money. We don't want the money. And you know what, you guys, you're bad company for a lot of reasons, and we're not going to take your money.
I mean, I don't mean to be cynical, but I can't imagine this is a lesson. I mean, $100,000 is nothing to Amazon.
Facts.
And this was probably what appeared to be like a great pinkwashing purchase for Pride Month. That also allowed them to point to like supporting local organizations. So because Amazon has been repeatedly criticized for like not actually caring about the city that, that its headquarters is in. And, they've already moved on. There's been a series of internal emails. Whosever idea this was like, and they're on to the next. Like, I cannot imagine that this is going to change anything. I can't.
I did appreciate, though, that the Times article pulled back the curtain a little bit on and took the time to point out all of these interactions between the company, even though.
And what big money
looks like. Honestly. Yeah. The person who wrote the article for the Times said that after the article came out or that the news was released, a couple of Amazon employees donated to Pride and said they really appreciated this. So here's my public radio pitch to Amazon employees. If 100 Amazon employees who believe in Pride's mission donated $1,000 each, everyone wins.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm getting Pride.
And they should.
Pledge drive muscles.
And they should. If you work at Amazon, you should feel that. You should feel the weight of how your company, requires a name. It's like bullyish to say, if you want this, you have to also put my name on it. So it's a really nice way to undercut the system.
Yeah, show who you are. Speaking of employees and winning, it's been in the news that Starbucks stores across the country are beginning to unionize. And this week, the employees at the Capitol Hill location took that step. The Broadway and Denny store will go down in labor history as the first to unionize in Starbucks' hometown. Big deal.
Yes.
Big deal here.
Yes. Yeah. For real. I love unions. They're like my favorite thing. The idea of people being able to come into the workplace and explain what they need and for their voice to be heard, for every employee to be a contributing factor to how the rules get made up is like just my fantasy completely. Like, my fantasy is being hired on and me explaining to somebody what I need and then being like, I can help you with that. That can be, there are other people with the same problems and issues as you, our concerns, and we're all going to work together to make them happen.
Oh,
that's really beautiful.
Well, 7 Starbucks stores have formed unions so far. There are 9,000. But, is there a labor movement afoot here? Is there a shift? I wonder.
Well, they're going to change a bunch of laws to crush it. So, not for long. Jeannie's face.
I know. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm having a moment where I'm sad this is audio because as Trish was explaining the unionization of the Capitol Hill store, the nodding and the number of times your eyebrows went up and down, Eula, I was sad other people can't see that. Yeah. It was pretty delightful. I mean, the thing that I thought was interesting about at least the New York Times piece about the story was the quote that they used from Howard Schultz, who I guess is coming back to be the CEO again. It's like the 90s
easy.
All over again. I know, just come on back.
I just rehired myself.
Yeah. I'm going to come back. I started it's fine. I had a search committee and I'm the best candidate.
It's temporary. I think it's temporary.
So, yeah, it is. It's interim. It's supposed to be interim. But the quote that they used from him, this was, I think, after the Buffalo store unionized, was that he was saddened that there are Starbucks partners, which is what they call employees, who felt that they couldn't ask directly for what they needed because it's never been the culture at Starbucks to, not be able to ask directly for what you need. And so he's hoping that that'll change. And I was just so struck at the, like, you know, the fact that he's suggesting that people who work for Starbucks should feel bad because they're not treating this massive multinational corporation as another person that they can just ask a favor of or ask for help. I mean, I don't know. It's really convenient, I think, that you can talk about a big multinational corporation as just another person that you have to reach out to, that there's no power dynamic that exists there between like a worker in a Starbucks store and like corporate headquarters.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, this is the thing with like workplaces all over. It's, you know, ignore the power dynamic. We're just another person, and we just have to communicate, and that's all it is,
us
right?
How you feel.
That's why we don't need unions. It's a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah, just call me. There's 4 million of you, so, you know, there might be a wait time.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, I will say that I have worked service jobs, right? And the issues that the Starbucks workers are talking about, scheduling, safety stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Those were issues when I was working the counter back in 8th grade, and I never felt empowered to say anything about it back then, right? I also didn't work for a big company that says I'm a partner in this organization. So...
But also, if you complained, I mean, this is child labor. Trish, you're not supposed to be on the job.
working papers.
That's
I had
true,
working
too.
papers. In 8th grade, I went down to the school office and got working papers, which is what you need in New Jersey to work if you're 16. Yeah.
Deep.
In other news this week, on Tuesday at roughly 2 p.m., Seattle, for the first time in 2022, hit 60 degrees. What a feeling. What a feeling, ladies. My 16-year-old wanted to go see the cherry blossoms, and it was so nice I couldn't turn him down. And it's been 2 years since the UW encouraged people to go, and clearly everyone understood the assignment because there were so many people there. Oh, my gosh.
Jeannie, I know you went too, right?
I think I was actually at the cherry blossoms the same time you and your kid were, Trish. But it was like Tuesday afternoon, 4 o'clock, really nice and sunny out, warm. But it was so crowded. Like, I was like, the cherry blossoms are nice. Like, I can recall having experiences looking at them and sort of having a moment of just real awe and sort of joy, and that didn't happen this time. I was really freaked out by the number of people who were outside and who were out there. And, you know, I know how this works. I know that it's safer to be unmasked outside than inside, but I put a mask on because it was jammed. Yeah. And I couldn't really focus on the cherry blossoms as a result. That's a lot of my own stuff. But, like, it was very, 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 very crowded. Can't really overemphasize the amount of crowdedness that, like, it felt like I was inside. It was really weird.
But it was a collective idea. The weather was too warm for people not to just give it a shot.
That's true.
And, you know, also the thing with the cherry blossoms is so many people, it's the time where they go and take their senior photos and their wedding photos and their wedding invites and all that stuff. And
so many photo setups.
You know, who we really have to feel bad for is a photographer who has to edit all of us out of the background. Because there's going to look like there's no one there.
I was going to mention all the Instagrammers trying to get a clean shot. It was, wow, it was a scene. It was a scene. However, and not to bring up my thing for standard time, I got up super early in the morning and it was empty. So if you want to have a stress-free, people-free visit to the university's cherry blossoms, go early in the morning because nobody's awake. Nobody's awake. It's really lovely. Really lovely.
And you have to go a couple times when there are no cherry blossoms so you can understand the whole point. You know, I think if you just go and you're like, oh yeah, these trees are pretty, like that's one thing. But it's very different to be like, people trek through this campus in terrible weather for month after month after month. And then all of a sudden it's just like it blooms and it becomes something fantastic and worth experiencing. And it's funny when you go though as an adult and you just pop in because you're like, this is pretty. But like, you know, I don't live here. I'm on golf. That's how I feel at least.
Those trees are 90 years old.
Oh, wow.
They're 90 years old, and they were moved to the quad from the Arboretum in the 60s. Yep. And they may not bloom forever because of climate change. The blooms are temperature dependent.
Well, Climate Change Arena can't do anything about this?
We've got to run the monorail from Climate Pledge Arena directly to the cherry blossoms so we can see what we're pledging to save.
Yeah.
Can Amazon give $100,000 and then there can just be a big logo, Amazon presents the cherry blossoms?
Yes.
And put them in another, like, dome that's climate controlled? So that,
Yes.
you know.
Presents the quad.
I'm just spitballing, but come
Jeannie,
on.
this is a good idea. This is something Amazon would grab at. They'd be like, just 100,000? It's just like, so I just have to get like a cherry blossom flag now?
My favorite part after the cherries bloom is when all of the petals hit the ground and there's a pink carpet. That is really beautiful. That's
I like
really
that
beautiful too.
I like that too.
One last thing before we go. This coming Tuesday marks the 60th birthday of the monorail, an icon of Seattle built for the 1962 World's Fair. Now, Eula, you grew up here. You probably voted for the monorail a couple times, for the monorail extension.
I'm sure I did. I mean, not going south. You know, the city tried multiple times not to get it to go south because how they wanted to put it on the street. But, you know, everybody just said, who are you guys over there in the south end? We will displace you, you know, and not care. But, you know, what's funny about the monorail is my mom was born and raised here, too. And she went to the World's Fair when it was here. Yeah, she tells the story that her grandmother came up. It was a really big deal. And her grandmother came and caught the train and everybody got a pass and they went down there. I know. And it's like, what? It's amazing.
That's probably the only time that the monorail lived up to the hype.
It's so true. Oh, it's so true. But you know, it's so funny because being like, when you're being born and raised here as a kid, it was a big deal as a kid to be like, you know, the only place to go was Westlake Mall. And so it would be like, you could go to Westlake and you could get to the Seattle Center if you had the money for it, or you could go stay up, you know, hang around upstairs in the, you know, the cafeteria, the food court area, which is like right by the monorail, and just see who gets off because it's so many tourists.
Wow.
So, I mean, it had its pluses, and it all exists on one trail. How can it do that just on one track?
Yeah.
The future
It
is
doesn't go
here.
anywhere because it's like a mile and a half long, Eula.
Anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere.
I'm so glad to hear like a story about it being exciting because I had this outsized idea of what the monorail was when I moved here 20 years ago. And then I realized it just travels like 4 blocks.
Yeah.
And I've never been, I was like, what? The what? So I've never been on it. Yeah. I literally thought it went as far as the one in the episode of The Simpsons was supposed to go. That's what I thought. I thought it was like, yeah, I thought it went that far.
A lot of people did.
It doesn't even. Yeah. So
because that episode came out in like the 90s, right? That Simpsons episode.
Yes.
And it was shortly after that they voted to extend it, or they tried to extend it to West Seattle and to Ballard. But
I've definitely been here long enough to vote for monorail extensions multiple times.
Yeah.
Like the Green Line, it was called. I voted for it. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. I had
this
hope.
is so inside. This is so inside.
I know.
Anyway, all right. We're leaving it
know.
there. Thanks to our guests, Eula Scott Bynoe and Jeannie Yandel. They're the co-hosts of Battle Tactics for Your Sexist Workplace. Great to see you two. Thanks.
Thank
you.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Caroline Chamberlain Gomez produced today's show. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. Have a great weekend. Talk to you Monday.